It started off as a simple illness in the city of Parthana, an illness that became a plague. The Church of the Elderways did what they could, but their quantum powers were not enough. The Council of Mages brought their elemental magics to bear, and for a brief moment the plague was cured, until it wasn't. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himbar. Today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of T.W. Anderson's The Rising Storm. The Rising Storm is book 1 in The Weave and the Void, of 2 or 3, but it is also a accompanying point-and-click adventure game and tabletop setting for, tabletop role-playing games. Hence the separate label for it. It's similar in vein to Dragonlance or Forgotten Realms. In fact, it even has chapter art done by Anderson's wife, Christina Barrios, in the spirit of, Dungeons & Dragons novels. It is a story of a group of old friends who find themselves in an unexpected adventure, one fraught with peril of deadly magic and quantum technologies going somewhat rampant. In the world, humans do not have access to elemental magic, but instead use relics from their past that utilize quantum tech. There is a large amount of distrust and animosity between humans and the Fey races, which do use magic and are native to the land. This culminates in heavy persecution against Fey when a plague breaks out in the city of Parthana, a plague that only affects humans. These are the characters. Thanon the dwarf, in the tradition of Flint Fireforge. Furin is a sea elf mariner and sometimes smuggler, it seems like. Hylan is a half-elf and Furin's lover. Alfea the brownie, who's, of course, mischievous. Liana is a high elf mage and leader of the group, kind of like Gandalf, right? And then there's a couple of new characters in part 2, the young brother and sister duo of Lynn and Will. Both humans, but with something interesting about them that plays a similar role as Goldmoon does in the first Dragonlance novel. This is a story very much in the vein of Dragonlance, but while I find Weiss and Hickman to be hit or miss in quality, especially in those first few Dragonlance books, Anderson really pulls through. His atmosphere and characters really stand out to me. The story moves at a fast pace and gets more epic as it goes. We have ancient artifacts, war, and many interesting species often associated with fantasy MMORPGs or tabletop role-playing games. While certainly being in that tradition of epic fantasy popularized in the 80s, you could say it's derivative, and so it might not be for you. I found it really fun personally, and as someone who can be a little harsh on much epic fantasy, take it as you will. There's no bloat here. It's clean and concise in the start of a 2 or 3 book series rather than something like Wheel of Time, Rune Lords, Malazan, etc. Also to me, there never seemed to be a good versus evil story. It has a semblance of such things at times, like in Anderson's Echoes of the Past, so he seems to be subverting such a trope. There are parts of the book from the point of view of members of the Church of the Elderways, which are largely against our heroes, and they worship a goddess and are remnant of an advanced human civilization that ended ages ago. They view the Fae as the other, almost in a sword and sorcery sense, and I really like their chapters. It's a nice change of pace. The plague here is in context of a historical period of post-pandemic in our world. I wouldn't view a certain reaction to the plague that is very important to the story as equivalent to, a reaction to vaccines, though. But regarding that, there are certainly some horror elements, and it's quite disturbing at times. Anderson is one of my favorite authors, one who's inspired my own short stories. His immersion capabilities into a world that feel real, and something that you can connect to, I think, is rather exceptional. His characters are some of the best I've ever read, being ordinary and realistic in comforting ways. And you can find some of this story in older videos for this project of The Weave and the Void. Originally it was called Project Dramond, and since that was the placeholder before The Weave and the Void was announced. I also covered it when the novel was still being serialized, and of course it is a serialized novel, but now is in full form, and I've already read it a couple times, and so I hope that if any of you enjoy epic fantasy, especially Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms type stuff, but done with a good hand who knows what he's doing, but also not in those. It's not Dragonlance, it's not Forgotten Realms technically. It's its own new world. Maybe you'll give it a try. And there is again the accompanying point-and-click adventure game, which the demo is available. There's also the Dungeons & Dragons module, though it's not. I'm not sure. I think it got the 5th edition stuff taken out of it, actually, but that was released last summer. Again, the story's well paced. It does get into action quickly. The stakes are rather high the whole time. A critique would say that you could get to know the characters more after the first part, which works as an extended prologue. I read the book twice again before its full release, and do look forward to the next in the series, and of course anything Anderson writes. Heck, my 3rd review on this channel was his other novel. And so, anyways, obviously I'm a fan. And if you like indie books, then this is something you shouldn't pass up on either. So, anyways, Liam from Liam's Lyceum. I will catch you next time.